Let's go live to New York now, where Ami Horowitz is. Ami, great to see you. Get off that phone, mate. Get off. Stop tapping away on your Twitter feed. Concentrate. Here we are. It's late at night, I know, in the States, or late evening. How are you, Ami? Great to see you.
I'm doing great and talking about a real sport. The Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday, and my boys, the LA Rams, will be in it. Hats off to the coaches, to the players, and of course Les Snead, the general manager, who put the whole team together. Can't wait for it, guys.
Have they changed their names, or isn't it the Redskins? Who are the Redskins? Have they changed their name to something or others?
You canceled. Yes. You guys are canceled.
There you go. Now, Ami, Whoopi Goldberg had a chicken recipe apparently in her youth. We've been discussing with Noah Tishby the weirdness of Whoopi Goldberg's comments that the Holocaust wasn't involved with race. I'm sure you have some thoughts on the topic as well.
No, not me. No. What make you think that? Well, I'll show you this take on it, okay? So Whoopi Goldberg, I'm not going to opine whether or not she's an anti-Semite or not. Personally, I think she probably is not an anti-Semite. You can always, apply ignorance as opposed to malice. But what she said, I'll tell you why I think it's extraordinarily dangerous. So the most dangerous part, frankly, of what she talked about was the part where she said, y'all white people can go do your thing, right? And never mind, the obvious of do your thing is putting Jews in ovens, right? Never mind that. It's this idea of Jews as white people is a fairly new concept, and it's a really, really important one in terms of the anti-Semitic superstructure that exists in the world today. And the reason why is the idea of intersectionality, right? A term you and the people involved in watching this show are familiar with. The idea is there is a hierarchy of victimhood. At the bottom of the base are people of color who have been victimized over the centuries. And at the top of the base are the white people, the powerful people, the rich people. And the Jews are the top of that, the tippy top of the white people, right? That's why they want to make it seem like it's Jews or white people, because it's the idea of now really can't be anti-Semitic because they've redefined the left always redefines terms, right, and words, and they change language to fit their weird, universe that they live in, and they've redefined racism. That's really what truth is. They've redefined the word from looking at a group of people and then discriminating them based on their race, or thinking of them as less than based on their race. The new definition of racism only applies to people of color, discriminating against people of color. Therefore, Jews are no longer part of that, because Jews are part of the problem. They are part of it. They're the top of the intersectional list. They step on the throats of people below them, and that's why it's so important. That's why this neo-anti-Semitism is really just an old or new reflection of the old anti-Semitic tropes that we've seen. It's out of the playbook of the protocols of the elders of Zion. I know she's too dumb to realize that, but that's what it is.
James.
But Ami, isn't this really the end point of all the critical race theory madness? We've seen this for years developing with the Trayvon Martin case. We had the term white Hispanic. We've seen recently that when a black person attacks an Asian person in the street in New York City, that is somehow white supremacy. We've seen universities now saying, well, they're going to discriminate against Asians who are a minority because somehow they're actually white because they're too successful or something. Isn't this now really the toxic endpoint of this revolutionary idea now, where racism now no longer means, you're racist because you think your race is superior or somebody's inferior, but that in fact you are going against whatever the woke revolutionary need and mandate of the day is?
Absolutely, and they even have terms for it: white adjacent or white passable. These really racist terms into themselves, frankly, they're being used. And the worst part of it all is the patronizing of people of color and black people by the way they've created this structure. To say to a black person, you have no agency, right? You have no willpower. You have no personal responsibility because you're simply a victim of circumstance. And it's such a patronizing way to look at somebody of color, a black person. It's incredible. It's an absolutely incredible thing, and that's why I think you're beginning to see people of color, Hispanics for sure, have moved conservative decisively over the last 10 years because they are fully against this woke culture. And you're seeing black people also say, enough of this. I'm a person, I'm a human, I have agency, I make decisions, good or bad. I should be judged on those decisions, not on this perverse pyramid you've created.
Exactly. Rita.
But an issue I have, Ami, is with the manner in which this anti-Semitism that comes from the left, and it is very much institutionalised, it's not happening by accident, is ignored by some even in the Jewish community because, as we know, there's great support for left-leaning causes and progressive causes and the Democrats. So is there going to be a point where the Jewish community says, enough, you are working against our interests. We are not going to turn a blind eye to this anti-Semitism any longer.
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I had the answer to that. The reality is a little bit of perspective. Jews have, for the most part, been on the left, right? In fact, it's actually quite interesting. Jews have always view everything through the prism of social justice because, frankly, and understandably, because the history of Jews throughout and being the victims over the centuries and millennia, really. And Jews were actually all solidly Republican for generations because they viewed the Republican Party after Lincoln as the party of social justice. And that changed during Franklin Roosevelt, and it flipped like a switch, and they haven't looked back. Unfortunately, while being anti-Israel is no longer an issue for most Jews, actually don't consider Israel in the top 10 issues they care about. I know it's crazy. It's not even the top 10. Anti-Semitism still does ring true for them because it affects them personally. So, yeah, I'd like to think they're starting to wake up, but you look at the ADL, unfortunately, and the Anti-Defamation League, and I hate to tell you, if you look down that road, you can see, they're a major Jewish organization, and they are fully into the woke mob. They're really one of the people behind the changing of the definition of racism, to be honest, and it's sad. It's quite disappointing.
Ami Horowitz, always great to chat to you. Now, I hope you're going to be heading down to a university or somewhere undercover soon to do one of your amazing docos. What have you got planned?
Already have.
Fantastic. Can't wait for that. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Ami Horowitz, so much.